Call a meeting to order. Do the Pledge of Allegiance with Councilman Kraft. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Larkey. Councilmember White.
Here.
Councilmember Powell.
Here.
Councilmember Pryan.
Here.
Councilmember Kraft.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Present.
Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here. Just remind council members to speak into your mic and make sure it's on tonight. We do have a full house. We're going to start off with personal appearances. The first item on the agenda is Miss Mary Cummings. We got a proclamation for the Buckle Up, Phone Down. And to do that tonight is Councilwoman Lawson. Mary, can you come up?
Actually, I'm turning this over to someone new. So
All right, who do we got new?
Tessa, she's a student at Belton High School, and her sponsor, Nicole Clark. Come on, Tessa.
Come on, Contessa?
Whereas the Missouri Department of Transportation and the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety are challenging the community to buckle up and put your phone down. And whereas when you get into any vehicle, buckle up your safety belt, and if you are the driver, put your cell phone down. And whereas in 2020, 987 drivers and passengers were killed in traffic crashes in Missouri. And whereas in 2020, nearly 7 out of 10 vehicle occupants killed in Missouri traffic crashes were unbuckled. And whereas cell phones contribute to nearly 2,486 crashes in Missouri in 2019, and whereas employees and safety partners will be making special efforts to reach out to businesses and individuals alike, by buckling up and putting your phone down, you will be doing your part to make Missouri's roads safer. And whereas the simple task of buckling everyone in the vehicle and choosing not to use your phone while driving can help save your life, the lives of your passengers, and occupants of other vehicles. And whereas it's time to join the movement and stand up and be counted. Take the challenge at modot.org/buckleupPhoneDown. Now, therefore, Norman K. Larkey, Sr., Mayor of the City of Belton, hereby declares October 21st, 2022 as Buckle Up Phone Down Day in Belton. We urge all citizens to take MoDOT's Buckle Up Phone Down Challenge and learn more about the risks associated with cell phone use and not buckling up while driving. In witness whereof, Mayor Larkey has hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed in the city of Belton, Missouri, this 11th day of October in the year of our Lord, 2022.
Yeah, there you go.
Buckle up, phone down swag.
He's hired.
Thank you.
There, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next item on the agenda is the Downtown Belton Main Street, Inc. Permission for the holiday lights to install Christmas lights on City Hall Annex and Fire Station. Diane Huckshorn.
Good evening, Council. Thanks so much for allowing me to appear tonight. Our request this year is for the lighting company to be able to put Christmas lights on the buildings here on Main Street at City Hall Annex, and the fire station, as well as the street lights for Christmas on Main. Not only for this year, but also for next year. The contract has already been purchased for next year from downtown Belton Main Street for that program. So in order to possibly save some time and consolidate, if we could get approval for 2 years, that would be great.
something we'll take up in later on in the city council? Do it now?
Make a motion?
The council could adopt a motion authorizing the hanging of Christmas lights on City Hall, the Annex, and Fire Station 1 for the holiday season 2022 and 2023.
Second.
And the streetlights.
Did I get a present down there?
Second.
We got a motion and a second to allow the holiday lights to be on Main Street, on City Hall Annex, and the Fire Station 1 for 2022 and 2023. Correct statement? Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passed, so you were good to go.
Thank you very much, council. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Diane. Tonight we have a personal appearance with from Rochelle Christensen. You have 5 minutes to speak, and please state your name and your address for the city clerk, please.
My name is Rochelle Christensen. My address is 702 Quincy Court. I live in the Traditions subdivision. First of all, thank you for allowing me the time this evening. I'd like to also thank the council members and the mayor. I sent out a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls. I appreciate all of the time that everybody took to return those, come out to the neighborhood, look at the site, look at what we're talking about. I just appreciate all of that. At the Planning and Zoning Commission, almost all of the homeowners attended that meeting, as well as a senior villa resident. As a community, we all agreed that this space was not best used as a rental for 6 buildings and 12 units. Let's see. We believe that the development is, what they are proposing to develop is just too large for a 1.4 acre lot. Adding 6 buildings and 12 units is already going to worsen the traffic and the parking issue that we already have. We have one entrance that has no lights, and already people are parking along that main drive. If we added something right by that entrance, the parking would be horrendous. The HOA is already having difficulty maintaining rental properties that they currently have in the subdivision, and they are also currently building over 100 more rental properties in the subdivision. As a resident of the senior villa stated at the planning and zoning meeting, they have some non-working sprinklers that are causing the landscaping to die. She's made several phone calls. They said they would address it. It still hasn't been addressed. We did attend a meeting held by the builder in the senior villa's leasing office, and there were water stains and mold growing on the ceiling. Those were built in 2021. We have, I believe, 33 completed homes if you don't count the new construction, or 53, 33 are home-owned. You can drive through there and pick out what's rental and what is not. The HOA and the owner are one and the same. They own the property as well as the rental properties that are there, most of them. I like that Belton is adding housing. I like that we have homes to rent. I like that we have apartments coming in. I think we need to have different options for people to live. But it feels like we're trying to stack people on top of each other, which is just not necessary. While I would love for that to stay an empty green space, that's just not logical or cost effective. I expect the owner would like to make some money off of his property. The neighborhood suggested a daycare. A daycare wanted to go there, but apparently they said that the builder stated that, or the HOA guy, don't quote me, I apologize, that the space was too small for a daycare, but we can put 6 buildings with 12 families on top of each other there. The subdivision seems to be happy with that being a daycare, or I'm rooting for a Dunkin' Donuts. I think, at least with a commercial space, you're limited to operational hours versus 24/7 of a dozen plus families in and out traffic with just an entrance that won't maintain that kind of traffic. Dave has already warned me not to exceed my 5 minutes. That's all I've got. I just hope that the council heard everybody at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they just kind of uphold this to not move forward. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Christensen. Now to speak, we have a Louis Ains. Louis, again, state your name and your address for the city clerk.
Hi, everybody. My name is Louis Ains. I live at 702 Andy Court. I live in the Traditions as well as she does. She's the adjacent property to where I live, to where the Plat 7 in the Traditions will be. This thing will back up directly to my home. There's a lot of problems already that I see wrong with it, and one of the major ones that I really picked out was it seemed like they already, the city of Belton worked with them to kind of rearrange the distance that the properties are supposed to be away from the roads to make them fit. And I'd like to say it's 1.3 acres to make it sound a little smaller, but it's just not enough space for 6 stacked rental spaces I mean, I don't know if you guys have the picture of what the layout will look like. They're claiming that there's, I think, 37 or 27 parking spaces, which we were able to knock 3 of them out right away because a truck is 19 foot long. Well, the road that comes into the back of these is only 20 foot. So just pulling out of your parking space, which 3 or 4 of them aren't even the standard length to meet code for a parking lot in front of your garage, it's not feasible to fit there. And we all think that it's not going to work for that space. But like she said, there was a daycare offered, and I personally think that's a great idea. As from in the age bracket of 19 to 35, I'm in that. I have a lot of friends and family that are of my age that are looking homes to buy, which are not in our area to find easily. And they're looking for daycare for toddlers, not just 9 and up, because that is something that Belton does have. But not a lot of people send their kids to daycare that are above 9 years old. It's the kids that are younger. And I called a couple daycares today. They said most of them said that they have no room for toddlers. And I think, that's something to look into more, for the future. I also want to kind of, hone in on the fact that there are a lot of rentals going up in this town as well as Raymore. And I hear constantly on the radio that Overland Park is dealing with the problem of these rentals and not enough viable homes. We have one resident in our neighborhood who's my neighbor. She called the Signage group to ask if she could buy a lot in the Traditions that are being I guess they're all bought up and they're being used for rentals only. She wanted to build a house in there and stay in that area because she loves Belton. She wants to stay here. It's nice. It's pleasant to be there, and we have a great community. And it's really hard for someone my age to go out and buy a house right now. And I think hopefully you guys can think about that as people are coming in here and wanting to build. Instead of building all these rentals, can we get somebody in here contracting homes that are, for us to buy? That's something that I'm not seeing a lot of, and it sucks for, someone my age group trying to buy their second home. My first home I bought in 2015. I was on the north side of 165th. Is that right? It's north of the police station, sorry. It was on Terry Avenue. I bought it for a reasonable amount. I lived there for 4 or 5 years, and I fixed it up, and then I sold it. And then I moved directly over here to the Traditions. So hopefully that does not stop for somebody my age, that they will be able to do that. So, but back to this thing, it's really important to us that this particular building setup does not go in there. I don't think it's safe. There's no really room for anybody to have kids in a yard. I mean, more than likely they're going to be running out on the road. it's not feasible. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for us and listening to our story about helping us kind of get this project and maybe move to something else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raines. Ordinances, motion approving the final reading of bill number 2022-59.
An ordinance approving the 13th Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan to approve the 211 East North Avenue project as redevelopment project 2022-5 and to authorize tax abatement as described therein.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Comments?
I'm going to have to abstain on this. I think scooters is a great place to have there. I have nothing against them. But as you know, 2 weeks ago, I asked about the redevelopment group following their own plan or their own guidelines. And yet I still don't have any calculation that shows that they met the 50% external cost for the project. So I've heard that there's exceptions, and I looked through everything that was voted on back in 2021, and I still don't see any exceptions to that. So when I say, I guess I'm just saying, once you say all in favor, aye, all in favor, I'm going to abstain.
Carolyn, you have a...
Yeah, I would like to respond. So we did do the calculation on that, and the percentage of interior costs on this particular project are 17%, just a little over 17%, 17.04%. And I just want to make clear to all of City Council that we absolutely follow all of the policies. It's my job as staff to make sure that everything is met before I take it to the Old Town Belton Redevelopment Corporation Board. And I would like to point out that we have Councilmember Lawson on the board, Councilmember White on the board, City Manager is also on the board. So just please know that I always make sure that it meets all of the guidelines before I ever bring it before the board.
Well, I think, not to interrupt you, if I remember right, I mean, the 50% rules, I mean, I think every lot has a building or structure on it except for that lot in that redevelopment area. So I think our goal was to make sure somebody did something big on Main Street in a commercial setting or even in a house, that they weren't just fixing up the inside, that were fixing up the exterior, which it's hard to get to that 50% when you have a vacant lot, but it's a brand new building that I think is going to enhance that area. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but when you're trying to put that development agreement together, you got to look at the whole picture and look at Main Street, particularly where you could spend that kind of money redeveloping one of these buildings. So, but.
Thank you.
Council, if you may. Also in the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan policy, it literally says that that the investment should look to allocate approximately 50%, but that the percentages may vary with key considerations being both exterior and interior brought up to the desired standards. So that's 50% isn't set as a hard policy. It's set as a kind of a guideline, is almost a, we try to meet this policy, but we have the ability to vary off of that if necessary. And that's written literally in the Old Town Belton Development Plan policy. So, and I meant to get that to you. I needed to get that to you, but that's, okay. So you're in the clear on that.
Oh, okay. Well, with that information, I probably won't abstain, but I still, I just think that I wouldn't care if it was 99.1 interior, because I think it's a great asset for it's a great thing for the community. But on the other hand, I think that we need to follow guidelines, and if this particular sentence overrules the guidelines, then I think we need to make that pretty obvious. Thank you. Thank you, Carol.
we always talk about not how to vote, but I think abstaining is something when you have personal conflict with. I mean, I think it's a yes or no. I mean, if you don't want it, then it's a no vote, not abstain, but that's your vote. But, you know, I think abstain is when you have a personal conflict with that project. But any other question or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lawson,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
Richardson,
Aye.
Pryan,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion approving the first reading of bill number 2022-60.
An ordinance approving a regional preventative maintenance program agreement between the Mid-America Regional Council and the City of Belton, Missouri to support preventative maintenance activities on local roadways within the Kansas City metropolitan planning area in Missouri.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Greg, any information you want to give us on this?
There's really nothing to add more than we talked about last time. It's $133,000 that'll be coming to the city through this agreement.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, motion approving the first reading of bill number 2022-61.
An ordinance approving a rezoning from C2 PUD to R3 PUD for a 1.48 plus or minus acre parcel lot located at the southeast corner of South Mullen Road and Sycamore Drive, and approval of a preliminary development plan for Tradition's 7th plat on the subject parcel.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Matt Wright, you have information on this for us?
Yeah, so the staff report and the plans and renderings that were submitted by the applicant have been included in the packet and attached to the ordinance for consideration. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on Monday, October 3rd. There were 15 to 20 residents that were in attendance, and 7 residents spoke in opposition to the request, including 2 residents that spoke under personal appearances this evening. The primary concerns from residents included the limited availability of parking for the site, buffering, and the overall density of the project in proximity to existing single-family houses. The Planning Commission agreed with the concerns from the residents and voted 8-0 to deny the rezoning and the preliminary development plan. We also have a representative of the applicant here this evening if there are any questions or comments for the development team.
Any questions, comments from the board?
I have one.
Barry?
I
Councilman Powell?
apologize for missing the last meeting, but I was reading on this quite a bit and was trying to figure out why, that's the question I'm going to have, is why are they wanting to change from the C2 to a multifamily zoning when it was already approved as a C2 in the first place? And then second of all, in our information we got from the city said staff recommendation is recommending approval subject to conditions. So I don't think that was approved. So
Well, the staff, I think the staff approved it, but I think planning and zoning did not approve it. So, I mean, staff goes through their process of why they think it should be approved, and then, of course, we still have our process as a city to go through.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, okay.
And I can speak to the staff recommendation and then also the information that we received from the developer, which they mentioned in both the neighborhood meeting and the public hearing last week. For the reason for requesting this is just due to the limited interest in the property for commercial development based on the size and location. In terms of staff's recommendation of approval, that was based, we've been working with the developer on this development plan for several months to get it to a point where we would support it. As part of that, it does meet all of the requirements in terms of parking. Know that there were concerns about parking, but the overall site, based on the number of units, requires 24 spaces, and they did provide 27. The only other modification that they were requesting to the plan, other than the rezoning, of course, was to reduce the setbacks to 20 feet, which matched the setback requirements for the other multifamily portions of the Traditions. So it was in keeping with that. That coupled with the overall site design, with the buildings being pushed closer to the street with front porches and parking in behind, we felt like was a design enhancement for the development type.
So what you're saying is they met all the requirements then? That's why it was approved?
Correct, except for the setback modification, which had been permitted elsewhere in the PUD.
But the planning and zoning did not approve, correct?
Correct.
All right.
So currently, the way that the section 2-94 of the city code states that members can address the council during public hearings or during public appearances. So right now it would be typically out of order at this point.
Councilman White?
There were three issues that they brought up. One is safety. There's 27 spots, but if each house has 2 cars, that's 24, so that leaves 3 for any visitors or people that may have 3 or 4 cars in the family. So it doesn't lend to visitors, people staying for the weekend or for parking. Well, then in turn makes them park on Sycamore, and there's already difficulty there at the entrance. So they were concerned about safety. There was also some concern expressed about the HOA, and since there was some difficulties in the townhomes maintaining the parking they're parking on both sides of the streets, even though there's a sign that says no parking on the side. Matter of fact, they parked underneath that sign. And so they were concerned that even though the HOA may not be able to continue, since they're not able to do it down there, and I actually forgot what the third one was.
But I heard the citizens.
He's complaining that they
I
didn't hear.
understand. Thank you, Councilman White.
Well,
Councilmember Powell?
well, to pile on about parking, if you've ever driven down Emily Lane, particularly towards the end, I know there's still building down at the very end, but there's parking on both sides. And I'm sure that we have a good fire department that could maneuver down between those. But I've, in the last few weeks since this came up, I've driven down there 3 times, and each time I had to pull over, let somebody come by, then they pulled over and let me go by. And if Sycamore becomes like that, because I think Sycamore is wider, it's got a divider at the very entrance point, but still, parking is the issue. And then I also finally would remind, not remind, but just bring up that at the Planning Commission, Mayor Larkey, who I think made the motion to deny this, said it just seems like this is too much shoehorned into too small of a space.
Councilmember White?
I do want to acknowledge that the drawings that they had presented were very attractive, but the issue is it's too much for that small space.
My comments, I did come to the public hearing with planning and zoning and listened in. I agree with the residents of, me personally, I think people bought a home over there, and next thing you know, they got rentals all around them, and I don't think that was disclosed to them early on, that they're gonna buy a house from the developer, and then he's just gonna sell out the last 50 or 60 lots and make them rentals. Personally, to the homeowners that bought over there, I don't think that's fair to them. We agreed on the north side being all rentals with the senior villas and the townhomes previously, but I don't think these homeowners were expecting something to the south of them being all rentals also. So I agree with them that, I think we got to come up with a different program, me personally, and come in with the homeowners over there and get their approval on this. Councilmember Goff?
Dave, I agree. I think that they're being a little anxious in saying that they can't find interest in any commercial activity. That's growing tremendously down that road, and a corner spot like that would be a good spot for some commercial.
Well, and I think it's going to be 5 lanes here before too long, and we're going to have, the connection to Cass Parkway in the near future, and like you said, that might be a nice lot for, if it's not a daycare, because we need those in our community also.
If I looked at the plat and was buying in there and saw that it was going to be commercial and then it was changed after I bought, I wouldn't like that. So, yeah, I agree.
Councilmember Kraft?
We did just lose our Head Start program, so daycare is extremely needed, and the daycare that said that they had spoken with them before has reached back out, and they do want it. They would still love to have that spot, so hopefully something can still be worked out.
I'm sorry, I didn't even realize who was saying that, but typically you guys do allow the applicant in a rezoning.
What's that?
You do typically allow an applicant in a rezoning to get up and talk. Sorry, I thought that was just a member of the public.
Oh, he can't come up and talk then? I'm sorry, sir. He originally told me you couldn't talk, so.
My name is Sean
I didn't turn
Flandemeyer.
around.
Sorry about
State
that.
your name and who you are, or and
My name
your
is
address.
Sean Flandemeyer. I am 350 Southwest Longview Boulevard. I'm representing the developer, and I am the builder in the community. I did want to bring some updates to the community because I do appreciate their feedback. We did do a quick overlay last week of a daycare, and it was provided by an engineering firm. We did come up with a space, and it's just their opinion of a daycare facility that could fit exactly on that lot's 10,000 square foot daycare facility. In their opinion, that's too small for a corporate daycare facility. And then not including ADA spots, there was 26 parking spots that would fit there. And that includes, if you look at the plan that we did submit, we had already set back the west side from the road for the future expansion of Mullen Road as well. And that's not in the documentation you have. Matt, I think you might have that information there. And only my comments would be is, obviously I built homes for people that were in that meeting. I didn't expect that that community would change to rentals. On the behalf of Salee, I would say that there were some lots that were sold out to another developer, which was Roush Coleman. And now that's been divvied up into a bunch of different other LLCs, which are very difficult to track down. But the same reason I'm even wanting to build it, because I have plenty of opportunity all over the city, is that while there may be mold spots or whatever was mentioned over here in the daycare or in the senior villas room, if you were to walk in there with me, maybe we had a spot on the ceiling, but overall, that senior villas is well taken care of. There was a concern about a sprinkler head, but quite honestly, I think that's an ancillary concern, because if you drove through there, Councilman White or Councilman Member Powell, it's a clean community. And I do believe that it's definitely unexpected to have these rentals, but what I try to illustrate in the meeting, which I believe some of you were in, is the fact that some of those same homes, it's a Greystone plan, 3-car, that's on the corner of Samantha and Emily. It's a maroon home. That same home that I sold to them was just under $300,000. I'm selling right now in Lee Summit on a $65,000 lot for $520,000 with even a down payment of that. That's like a $4,006 a month payment. So some of this rental piece that's coming in here, it's going to be all managed by Salee, and they're going to make sure the exteriors were covered, also the landscaping's covered, and along with the plan for that corner. We can jam a daycare spot on there, but as far as use of these tighter knit communities, we're going to create a lot of parking issues. But to the contrary, if you drove over there, my challenge to you is that if you look at these 6 buildings, it's almost too difficult. Unfortunately, it may be an impact to us to invite friends over. If you go to Arbor Walk, where they did the skinny villas next to each other, they have a little bit of extra parking, but it's not a cluster over there because, quite honestly, there's nowhere else for a friendly parking spot for people to be. So regardless of the decision today, at least I wanted to communicate that, one, while I understand the frustration from the rental aspect, the position brings that the affordability can still be there. What we proposed was to try to be a good-looking product and still offer affordability. And if you keep it under the Salee management, I do believe they're going to take much better care. And I am absolutely frustrated about the other homes in that community. So while your decision may land regardless what the Planning Commission said, I still stand behind what's going in there, and they're going to work hard to make sure that they keep that a clean neighborhood. Thank you.
John? Yes. Can you please write your name on here and make sure that I have this information correct? So I spell your name right.
Council members, anybody have any comments?
I just want to say thank you for him coming up and talking.
Thanks for coming up. I'll answer some. To me, I think one of the things brought up in the planning and zoning was parking, which Councilmember White and Powell both brought up, is not only into the traditions to the north. I think you go through there and we see people parking on both sides of the roads, and don't know if you own that or somebody else runs that, but when you're talking about 27 lots and possibility of 24 cars, people are parking on the backside of Sycamore. When I went over there, I just think you're trying to put too much into a little spot in our minds. I mean, it sounds like most of the issues we have are parking. I mean, I do have issues of, like what you said, you're upset also, and it's just frustrating for a homeowner to come in and buy something in a Solis subdivision and be proud of what they bought and then have nothing but rentals around them. And I actually think your senior villas up north is a great product. It's a needed product in our community, so I think what you guys put there is exactly what we needed over there, but I don't have any issues with any of that. My issues is south of where these homeowners bought. That's my personal issue. Any more comments? Take a vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion fails. D, motion approving the first reading of bill number 2022-62.
An ordinance approving the petition to remove property from the Grand Hill Community Improvement District.
Present.
Second.
We will now go into a public hearing regarding a potential removal of real property from the Grand Hill Community Improvement District pursuant to section 67.1441.1, parentheses 3 of the revised statutes of Missouri. Carolyn Yatsik, you have information on this?
I do, thank you. The Grand Hills Community Improvement District was formed on December 22nd of 2015 by the owners on Grand and Hill Streets for the purpose of constructing a sewer lift station to be compliant with Missouri DNR. So you can see on Exhibit A above, the entire square is the Grand Hills CID. A petition has been filed with the clerk of the city of Belton, Missouri for the removal of 3 properties from the Grand Hill District, and all proper notices were given for this public hearing tonight in accordance with the CID Act. This petition, filed by Southview Townhomes LLC, is to allow for the removal of lots 2, 3, and 4, which are highlighted on the map, as well as the existing sanitary sewer pipeline from the district. I'm going to try and go one other screen. Maybe I'll click. There we go. So this pipeline ran right through where building number 4 is. So that's the purpose of that. And the pipeline was replaced and is located outside of the district. On February 2nd of 2022, Grand Hills CID Board of Directors adopted a resolution approving the removal of the 3 properties within the district. A blight study was conducted by Starrett Urban LLC, and it's in your council packet as Exhibit C on page 60. Once this petition is approved, the petitioner plans to demolish the 3 buildings on the designated property and terminate and vacate all existing connections of water and sewer lines. The petitioner has paid the proportional share of the district's outstanding obligations to the CID, which is a special assessment. Once removed from the district, the 3 properties will be made a part of the proposed amended Southview Commerce Center CID as set forth in the next petition on the agenda tonight, which is item E. The petition to amend it's the petition to amend the petition to establish the Southview Commerce Center CID and expand its boundary upon approval of the City Council. At this time, I would like to introduce a representative from Southview Townhomes, Brody Scherer of North Point Development.
Good evening, council members. My name is Brody Scherer. I represent North Point Development. I don't have anything to add to Carolyn's comments. I think that pretty much covers everything that we're here for, but happy to answer any questions.
We don't ask questions right now, right? We can? Okay. Councilmember Powell?
Well, this may be for Carolyn, maybe for you, but what's the incentive for you for this breakup? I'm sorry, what's the incentive for you for this, or for North Point for this breakup of the CID, of the existing CID?
Of the Grand Hill CIDs?
Yes.
I think it's more just for the community. I mean, by bringing these three properties, we can contribute to the remediation of that particular area. As Carolyn mentioned, just removing those houses, with the blighted status and remediating that area, removing the overloaded sanitary line. So there's no real I guess incentive for North Point development.
And this may be more for Carolyn, but why did we need a blighted study if we already had a blighted study for the first CID?
We needed the blight study so that when these properties are demolished, the CID, it could be reimbursed by the CID.
Okay. And, well, I think I heard you say that that you paid your proportional payments, but isn't there a lot more to pay for the existing sewer line that you're going to tear out? And who pays for that? The remaining CID members in the Grand Hill CID?
The work has already been completed, and yes, the remaining homes in the CID will continue to pay the special assessment.
And would that, how can I say this? Would that go up now that a major partner is gone, or when you say they paid their proportional, they paid into the
their
future? Okay.
Correct.
Oh, good. Okay. And then finally, well, two more things. First of all, and I don't know if it's in this or maybe in one of the future proposals, but since you're there, I'm going to ask, it's said several times about what you were going to do is 160th Street expansion, but 160th Street is on the other side of Southview. How does that come into effect? What does that mean, expansion of 160th Street?
So that is covered under item F when we discuss the cooperative agreement.
Okay,
So
well, I can
maybe
save it for then. Yeah, okay. And that's all I had about this. So to summarize, the existing Grand Hill members of the CID will not see increases in their bills. And also, I saw that there are a bunch of signatures from owners in there who were on the board of the CID, right? So they've agreed to this split off.
Have
Okay,
approved it by resolution, yes.
thank you.
Councilmember White?
Do you have plans for those three lots?
The plan is to remove the homes and just leave it as green space. We feel that the adjacency to the existing or the detention basin that we constructed with Building 4 to leave it as green space.
And who will upkeep it?
North Point Development is part of the Building 4 property, Southview Commerce Centre Building 4.
Any other questions? At this time, do we have any members of the public here to speak on this? Please come forward, state your name and your address for the city clerk.
Right there.
Hello, I'm Tim Shepard. I represent the management of a couple of the buildings. It's 7 and 6 right here on the 300 Hill Street. And I guess our only concerns, I'm representing the owner, was, we're renting those properties and trying to make sure that those tenants are taken care of. And I know recently we had, I think it was the roads, they came and did some fill and took care of some of that. So just wanted to, say thank you for that from the city. But also just that, the biggest concern is, I know someone said that the sewer or the drainage line was already fixed. Is that, I think that's what they said or whatever, but it's still a lot of water been flowing down Hill Street. So I hopefully, if the removal of these does fix that for the tenants so that they're not in a flood zone on their street where they can't even park their car, that would be great. I don't know if.
Yeah, I can address that. So Carolyn's comment about the sewer that was already complete was the sewer that was running through the middle of Building 4. The sewer that you're referring to is on Hill Street, so that has not been completed yet. So there is more remediation to happen that will, positively affect that water on that road.
But those are sanitary sewers, correct?
Correct.
So sanitary sewers, if they're designed right, don't get stormwater, correct?
So I've actually seen the exposed sanitary sewer. It is damaged. It's clay pipe. Those sanitary sewer lines are clay pipe. So there is points of infiltration just, I guess, over the history of that pipe where it's been damaged. So there was, some water and stuff coming out the manholes, and so we dug into that, and there is some damaged clay pipe underneath that in front of those houses.
So you're planning to fix it once you?
So we will remove all the sanitary lines in front of those three houses will be removed up to the manhole that services the house. There's a manhole between, I guess, 1 and 2 in the bottom left of that picture there. So we will remove everything east of that manhole basically, and disconnect that from the sewer line.
So none of that would solve Tim's problem?
Well, the issue is that all of that stormwater is getting into that sanitary sewer line because it's damaged, and it's seeping through the ground into the sanitary sewer line where it's exposed, and it's overflowing the rest of the sanitary line downstream.
Okay.
Mr. Shepherd, you get all your comments in?
Yes, sir, that was all.
All right. Had someone in the back? Ma'am, come on up. State your name for the city clerk and your address, please.
Hello, my name is Tanya Hubbard. I live at 301 Grand Street. That is B on here, or is that a 5? I'm not sure. Okay, they said that the sewer has been taken care of. My basement floods feces every time it rains. So right behind my house is 2 fourplexes that sit back there. And in 16, right on the side of that, it's just sewer caps that sit there. There's a dry creek right behind my house. It is not dry. Every time it rains, the sewer overflows and it ends up in my basement. I have contacted the water department on numerous occasions. Somebody was supposed to be calling me back. Nothing ever happened. This happens every time it rains. The house next door to me is now vacant. Nobody's moving in or renting that property because there's feces in that house as well. My house is the lowest sitting house on this entire property behind me and on my street. Every time it rains, my house is the house that pays for it, and unfortunately, nobody has responded back. I've tried to reach out on numerous occasions to people with no success at all. So they said it was fixed, but I'm not understanding. If it was fixed, then I had no knock at the door, no notice. Nobody has ever contacted me about this situation.
So I got a question for you, Ms. Hubbard.
Okay.
How long is your basement? How long have you lived there, and how long has your basement been flooded?
I bought this house roughly about 2 years ago in August, and the first year it was fine until a rainy season came, and then I'm like, oh, the creek isn't dry anymore. Oh, gee, what's that smell? And I had 2 dogs, and until one of them jumped into that, and I had to put it down, I don't own any animals anymore. So I've been dealing with this for over 1.5 years now. My backyard, it's a hit or miss. I'm scared to go back there. I'm pretty sure pretty soon I'm probably gonna get fined for my grass. I have to wear boots that are thigh high because we walk in feces back there.
What is your address again?
301 Grand Street. And that is it.
Thank you. Anybody else here to talk about the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council members, do you have any discussion on this?
I'm
Councilmember White?
So, if I heard him right, the pipe that's with the housing has not been fixed. It's the pipe that was underneath Building 4 that's been replaced. So, when they go in, they're going to be removing that piping. But I got to look at him. So, they got to be removing the piping that's underneath those 3 houses. And that supposedly is going to fix the issue? Is that?
Staff have any
Let's point out that, first of all, Ms. Hubbard is on Grand Street, which has nothing to do with this CID.
Maybe. I think capping that, you taking that sewage, the sewer lines out from 2, 3, and 4 in that area and capping that right there could have and I don't know this for a fact, but it could have a positive impact on the amount of sewage going elsewhere in the area, especially if 5 is the lowest spot in the entire area.
But 5 is on Hill, and she said she was on Grand, so she's up on the street. She still might be the lowest.
Right.
But I don't know how, I guess somebody
I
should
don't know
try
that
to
it'll help,
explain
but I just don't know that it
how
won't.
taking out a sewer line, even if it's leaking, will solve her problem.
If her problem is sewage in her yard and it's coming from that uncapped line that's open and not solidified, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have one more thing to add to that. I've called my insurance company before when this was happening because I thought this was an issue, maybe my home. Before they started building the buildings up top and they blasted, that's when everything started happening, after the blast happened. So I called my insurance company and I had them come out to assess it. They said there is nothing that they can do about it because my home was not built to withstand what was going up on the property. So I asked them if they can indeed verify that it was coming from whatever was going on up there. They said that they could not verify that, but they could verify that the water that's coming from the hill running down, the sewer systems are not made for that whatsoever. Thank you.
Any other comments from City Council? We can't. Public hearing's closed.
We actually have 2 separate issues.
Well, what we're trying to do is it's been the CID of Grand Hill has approved for these partials to come out of theirs. So this has been approved by that CID for them to leave, and they're going to pay for their remaining balance. So all we're trying to do is take these 3 pieces out of the CID. I think some of the issues that we're facing today is something that we got to take on after this, because it has nothing to do with the CID.
That's separate than the CID.
Yes. I mean, I think we need to look at what's going on over there, because this is the first time we're hearing about it, and see what's going on, and we can address that after the fact.
That's right. And the order of operations here is we take these out of the Grand Hill CID. Then the next one, E, is going to be to allow them to bring it into the other CID, which will give them the resources to make improvements in that area.
Correct.
If that makes sense.
Correct.
So that's why they're asking for this.
But I do like the fact that this other CID has already did a proclamation to get these out of their CID, so we can move forward with that. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. E, a motion approving first reading of bill number 2022-63.
An ordinance approving the petition to add property to the Southview Commerce Center's Community Improvement District.
Present.
Second.
We will now open a public hearing regarding the addition of real property to the Southview Commerce Center Community Improvement District pursuant to section 67.1441.2 of the revised statute of Missouri. Carolyn Yatsik again.
Great, thank you. So the Southview Commerce Center Community Improvement District was formed on June 23rd of 2020, and the original boundary is depicted on page 116 of your council packet, which I apologize I don't have up here, but it is essentially buildings 1 through 3. And was the former Southview Golf Course. A petition has been filed with the city clerk of the city of Belton, Missouri for the addition of property to the district, and all proper notices were given for this public hearing in accordance with the CID Act. The petition requests that the city council amend the original petition by expanding the district to include lots 2, 3, and 4, which are right down here, and the pipeline also to be removed. Additionally, the petition requests that the Southview Commerce Center 4th and 5th plats to be added to the district which is essentially we're building Forsets now and the related berm. On September 9th of 2022, the Southview Commerce Center CID Board adopted a resolution which consented to the addition of the property. At this time, I would like to invite Brody Shara to the podium if he has anything else to add.
I guess I'll just address some of the other comments, just to make sure, I guess, cleared up. As far as the sanitary sewer that we would be fixing as part of this, the idea is that stormwater is entering the sewer, which is backing everything up downstream. There is I guess we could see it before, but there is a pump station on the northwest side of that area that is being overloaded when that stormwater enters through the damaged clay pipe. So we would plan to remove that damaged pipe in front of those 3 houses, as well as I just wanted to make the comment that there is no stormwater leaving our site. We obviously detain our stormwater to the southwest and to the east of the building. I know there is a swale in that area that the lady was talking about, which North Point, outside of the CID, we actually did remediate that swale for those neighbours within the last few months. So hopefully, that helps. We added some rock check dams where that water was draining, which should help with all the drainage in that area. But that is the idea of the sanitary sewer remediation in front of those 3 houses.
Do we have any other members in the audience that would like to talk about the public hearing? Make comments?
What effect will that have on the 4th house that is not part of the new CID?
So, as I mentioned before, there's actually a manhole that sits between the 3 houses and the 4th house.
Okay.
And that 4th house actually has PVC pipe that feeds into the manhole, so they're not on clay pipe like these other 3 houses. So we expect it's going to be beneficial for them because that manhole that they feed directly into should have less, water getting in there.
Okay.
Not seeing anybody, I'm going to close the public hearing. Do any members of the council have any questions, comments?
Well, maybe this is the place where I ask, one of the things you're going to do in operation of the new of the existing Southview CID when you get this property is to expand 160th Street. So what does that mean?
That is the next, that's item F.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, I'll wait another one.
But we will get there.
I already know the question for him now. So we'll vote on motion E. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Ordinance F, motion approving the first reading of bill number 2022-64.
An ordinance approving the amended and restated cooperative agreement among the City of Belton, Missouri, Southview Commerce Center Community Improvement District, and NP Southview Industrial, Inc.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Again, I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn Yatsik.
Thank you. The final item on tonight's agenda as related to the Southview Commerce Center CID boundary expansion is an amended and restated cooperative agreement among the City of Belton, the Southview Commerce Center CID, and North Point Southview Industrial, Inc. When the original Southview Commerce Center CID was formed on June 23rd of 2020, the City Council also approved a cooperative agreement which set forth the respective duties and obligations regarding the district's sales tax and the use of those revenues. With the 2 previous ordinances approved by first reading tonight, the city will need an amended and restated cooperative agreement, amending and supplementing the original cooperative agreement to include additional land and improvements that resulted in the construction of additional street improvements to 160th Street, landscape improvements, incorporation of additional parcels, and the remediation of blight. This amended agreement will set forth respective duties and obligations regarding the district's sales tax and the use of those revenues, which can be found on page 216.
We do have our attorney, Sid Douglas, here with Gilmore and Bell, so if we do have some questions for him, he is present. Any comments from, or questions from council members? Councilmember Powell, waiting on
What
you.
does this have to do with 160th Street?
So 160th Street, and Greg, you can chime in if you would like. They had to go back and make some revisions to 160th Street. And I'd also like to invite Brody back up to speak to that if you have comments.
Well, as I understand it, 160th Street stops on the east side of the South View, of the North Point development. Now, I know that there was an issue with the people in Building 2 calling 160th Street their address, so maybe there's a remnant over there someplace, I don't know, but even that is quite a ways away from 157th roughly, which would be the extension that would go to Hill, so we're 3 blocks off. I mean this, how can I say it, the existing Southview CID could have done something with 160th Street, 2 years ago, as far as I know. I don't know exactly why they needed this property to now do something about 160th Street, which, as I see from the map, is all the way over on the other side of the project, but maybe I'm missing something.
The original construction costs for 160th Street were lower. They did have to go back and make some changes, which increased the cost for the construction of that street.
Whereabouts on the street? Could we bring up the map of, there was a map about the sewer, it was on the,
Yep, I'll go back.
it was in E, I guess, or whatever.
Oh, I only have 3 slides. If it's in
Okay.
the packet.
Well,
Yeah, this is 160th right here.
Right there in the middle. Between building 2 and 3.
okay, so that's not a driveway anymore, that's the 160th Street.
Correct.
Okay. And, but over there in the bottom left is where Grant and Hill are, and that's the new property they're getting. You can just see that little bump out right there, yeah. So what does that have to do with 160th Street? I mean, it may, I mean, I'm not trying to challenge anything, I just don't understand. Maybe they have more financing now, they have more property? I don't quite understand that. Well, anyway, it's a future thing you're gonna do.
What Carolyn was trying to get is that the original Southview Commerce Centre CID, obviously 160th Street was part of that CID, and there was a specific engineering design and construction cost for that. Since that was approved, the design was changed, upon comments from Public Works and the City and Planning, which ultimately increased the construction costs, exceeding what was approved in the original CID.
Okay, so now we have more land, we do more with the money, I guess. Okay.
All we're basically doing here, if I understand everything correctly, is just renewing a contract we've already had and just establish a new
Okay.
territory.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
Correct. And the initial costs in the initial cooperative agreement are still there, with a slight increase in cost to, well, an increase in cost to the 160th Street, and then the costs associated with the Grand Hills.
I guess, Councilmember White?
The cutout above Building 4, in the yellow, right there. What is that again?
That's the berm. That's
So
where the berm is.
where is the, there is the new houses?
The new subdivision, which is Sunset Hills Third Plat, 27 units.
So that's not part of this?
Is not.
Okay, so I can't talk about that, okay.
You can talk about anything.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, resolutions. Motion approving resolution R 2022-110.
A resolution reappointing Keith Parks and appointing Rusty Sullivan to the Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. B, motion approving resolution R 2022-111.
A resolution approving the purchase of 2 model year 2024 international dump trucks equipped with plow and spreader and brine appertissements. I apologize. That's an odd word. For a total purchase price of $490,658 and the disposal and sale of truck numbers 512 and 513 in accordance with Section 2-991 of the Code of Ordinances.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any issues or things you need to tell us, Greg?
No, it's just as we discussed last time that we have the budget for buying a truck this year, and we're going to purchase a truck next year. And so this is an opportunity to actually place an order. It's the first time we had to place an order in the last 3 years. And so we're taking the full opportunity of ordering 2 trucks.
I can see why we haven't ordered one of these in a while. How old are our oldest one? I mean, how old are 512 and 513? Are these like 20 years old, or are they don't
I
last
think
that long?
they're 13 years old.
13?
I mean, when you're out there, you saw the rusted ones that was hidden in the garage, not the one that was out front.
Any questions, comments from council? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. C, motion approving resolution R 2022-112.
A resolution approving task agreement 2022-2, amendment number 1 with Bright Construction LLC for the Main Street Waterline Improvements Project in the amount of $167,460.94 to cover costs due to unforeseen work utilities that cost extra time and materials.
Present.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Greg Roku, again, I know we talked about this in a work session here a couple weeks ago.
I'd like to give you some more details to make sure everybody understands, because it's a large change order, but I just want to go through what it actually covers. So in building the project, there's several things that are unforeseen that we didn't know was present. We found a water line that was basically from about 1920 that we had to work around. We found additional duct banks. AT&T got in there before we started and put a fiber line in the way. We found a couple other fiber optics. And so in the packet, you can see a list of all the different pieces and parts extra that we had to put into the project. I won't go through every one and bore you to death. But that came out to about 7.6% overages, about $58,000 of work that had to be done in addition to what was originally contracted. While they were building the line, the current line broke over 12 times during the construction in 2.5 months. Since Bright was there and our crews were working on other water line breaks, we had them make the repairs. Those repairs came out to be $108,000 of repairs. At one point, the water line, as they were trying to put the new one in, the old one looked like a soaker hose. So it was a water line that had over 100 just spraying water coming out of it that we're trying to maintain. As we removed the earth from on top of the line was just falling apart. The dirt was actually holding it together. And so that's where a lot of the overages came. Our crews were basically over on Allen as they were replacing that line. We were over there almost daily making repairs there. Plus, we were averaging over the last 2 months, we've averaged 1 main break a day. We've had as many as 3 a day. And so we've been repairing a lot of main breaks. And so we had Bright fix these while they were there. So that's why the overage is a little higher than we normally would have done. But it's the only thing we could do at the time. So that's where the total comes. You go through the estimate, you can see every line item that we paid for, so you can see everything clearly what was spent on. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Councilmember White?
So we're good here now.
Yeah, the line that goes up Walnut and behind Main Street to all the restaurants and the future places is fantastic. We went from a 2-inch and 4-inch line. The 2-inch line only had about 1-inch capacity in it. So there was no way that when the next restaurants open up, they'd have very much capacity in water. But now they have a brand new 8-inch line, a brand new service line, and you can do whatever you want with those buildings.
Any other comments? Councilman
They've
Richardson?
repaired all the back alleys.
I didn't go
Behind the
back there to
buildings.
see if they're all paved, but all the holes, they're supposed to be, should have been done. Did
Oh,
you
they are,
find
okay.
one that's not?
I haven't driven back there in a few days, but
Okay,
I
I'll
will.
go back and check. They've been working on them.
Thanks.
Is that something like driving down Walnut Street and all that? We tore it up pretty good. Is that something we're going to pave here in the near future then to kind of fix that, or?
We're gonna try to get there eventually, yes.
Okay.
But the alley is the alley. I'm sorry.
Well, the alley's the alley, right, yeah.
And they did leave some stuff on the parking lot, just a little bit, but they're at the right behind.
Right, they
here.
still have to clean up and get all totally out.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, consent agenda, one motion, non-debatable to approve the recommendation noted. Any member of the council may ask for an item to be taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action. I need a motion.
Present, sorry, that was my job.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. City Council liaison reports.
I usually lead off with parks, so just a quick recap of last weekend events. There was the Darrell Cronk Foundation Baseball Clinic at Memorial Park, I believe, and there was about 50 players there. Markey Park was also full of baseball teams for tournaments. Memorial Station and the Senior Center were both rented out, so shout out to our park staff for facilitating all those events over the weekend. Additionally, upcoming is the Pumpkin Palooza, October 29th at Memorial Park from 6 to 8 p.m. The Veterans Day Parade is November 5th, 11 a.m. on Main Street. Entry is free, but sign up is required. And the Holiday Craft Fair is coming up on November 19th from 9 to 3 at High Blue. Thanks.
Question, you said the last time we met they had a disc golf tournament going on?
Yeah, that is October 28th. It's at night out at Cleveland Lake.
They had something out there last weekend and that place was packed.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet you there's 1,000 people out there playing disc golf. I
Yep.
mean, they were parking all the way over in the school district parking lot, and I mean, it was crazy. It was good to see.
Yeah, we're becoming a disc golf destination.
Rob Powell, Councilman Powell, anything?
Oh, no, the TDD didn't meet.
Okay.
Planning Commission met, and we've already talked about that.
No, we had to talk about that tonight, didn't we? So, any communication from City Council? Councilwoman Kraft?
And of course, I have gotten off of it, and I can't talk without something telling me what to say. Hold on.
Is it about birthday?
Birthday. No? Oh, no, we're done with that. We're done with that. Don't even go there. The Senior Center, along with West Central, is having a health and resource fair October 19th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be flu shots, blood pressure and glucose checks, COVID-19 booster vaccinations, information on Medicare and Medicaid. Harvesters will be there, Compass Health. It's for the 55 and over community as well as anyone underinsured. It will be at the Belton Senior Center.
Councilman Powell?
Yes, on October 21, Friday, from noon to 5, American Red Cross is having a blood drive next door in the old City Hall in the theater district.
It'd be nice if we could get that out on City Council. I know we're short of blood around here too, so is that something we can put out, staff? Can we put out something?
Well,
Do you gotta sign up?
Yeah, I brought a flyer to each of the two buildings, the Annex and City Hall, and if you just go to redcrossblood.org and look for Belton. You can, October 21.
All
You
right,
can
thank
sign
you.
up.
Did you have your,
Dave,
Councilman Goff?
I think you and I need to make known on the 17th, Ward 1 has our Ward 1 meeting at Memorial Station.
Well, and I would ask, Ward 4 had their meeting and Ward 3 had their meeting. It sounds like you guys had some pretty good conversations at your meetings too, so looks like it's been a good thing to have. So, Ward 1 is gonna be October 17th from 6 to 7 at Memorial Station. Ward number 2 is gonna be this Thursday night, which, is that the what is that, the 13th? 14th? So October 14th from 6 to 7 at Memorial Station also, correct?
Yes.
Right. Even if you're not in Ward 1 or Ward 2 and you missed the other wards and you have concerns, please come out and talk to the council members. City Manager Joe Warren's going to be there too. Any other city councilman? All right, I guess I'm sitting in as mayor tonight, so Mayor Larkey would love for me to present the Mayor's Christmas tree lighting. It's going to be on November 26, 2022, but we also have, we raised money for Operation Santa. So if you guys would like to donate money to Operation Santa, please get with City Hall. I think, Andrew, you collect that, or that's what I thought. Last year, City Council donated enough money to provide hot dogs. I don't know if we had enough hot dogs last year, but if that's something else that we can do on November 26th. We had a very lovely night that night, and we had a great crowd. So that's the Christmas on Main start, and the Mayor's Christmas tree lighting is November 26th.
At Downtown Belton Main Street meeting a week or so ago, they said they ran out of hot dogs really fast. I think the implication was we should up our
I
contributions.
think we only bought 300 last time. I think we probably ought to do more, but it just takes more money. I'm glad they noticed that over there.
Oh, yeah.
City Manager's report.
Thank you. Our new HR director starts on October 24th, so I'm happy to report that. We have mentioned already that we have 2 of our pre-budget ward meetings already in the books, and we had more than 20 people at each of those, and so the standard has been set for the other 2 wards. So I'm hoping that we get to see that kind of participation from them as well. You mentioned Thursday and then next Monday. Also, I participated in the Mark City Managers Roundtable discussion about homelessness last week, and there's actually a study being done involving 5 Missouri metro area cities. Grandview is one of those, and the results of that study should be available later this month. And I'm hoping to piggyback on the back of that study to see if what kind of best practices are being recommended for the potential implementation in our region. I think homelessness is a regional issue that we should be addressing on a regional basis, and so doing the same type of things that they're doing in Grandview and Independence and Lee Summit and Raytown to make sure that we're addressing this is probably the right way to go, and we do it all on a consistent basis. So we should have more information on that. Also, we had our fall senior leadership retreat with a senior staff on September 29th, and we have nearly established the entire organizational leadership philosophy for our organization. What that means is we've essentially identified core values. We've got a vision set, and the mission is about set. And so once that's all done, we'll be bringing that to you all for review and potential approval of. We think that we've got some good stuff for you guys and good stuff for the organization that hopefully can help this community moving forward. And that's it for my notes.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we're going to move on into the work session. Items for review and discussion. Item A, Code Enforcement Advisory Committee.
Yeah, this one, not a whole lot on this. You guys just approved as part of the consent agenda the reappointment of some folks on that Code Enforcement Advisory Committee. We are re-implementing that as we look to potentially revisit the idea of a rental registry and licensing type of program. And so the idea is that we will get something put on the website pretty soon. We've almost got that ironed out as far as what a potential program could look like. Then we would like to have some public hearings and invite any landlord associations to be part of those public hearings take that feedback back, see if we can't come up with some kind of solution that's agreeable, amenable to all, and then take that back to the Code Enforcement Advisory Committee to see if they have some feedback at that point. Hopefully, get their approval if they so choose to do so, and then bring it back to the council. That's kind of the timeline on that, and one of the main reasons why we were wanting to do that. The other reason just being that code enforcement is such a big deal in this community that we want to make sure we have that public participation moving forward. And so, yeah, that was more of a report than it is a work session. But I just I wanted to make sure you guys knew what we were doing with that and why. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Is that advisory committee complete now? We have all the members on there?
I think it's active enough to utilize. I don't know if it's 100% complete. I haven't looked at that, to be perfectly frank.
Council have any questions?
Well, since right now anyway, I'm the.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, I'm just not close enough. Since I'm in the council representative, when do we get started, or how do we start? Is Matt our?
Well, I think the timeline we're going to do is first we're going to get another proposed program, ordinance out there,
Right,
and
on
make
the
it
rental,
public
yeah.
on the rental thing, and then set up public hearings first and allow some of that feedback so we can bring more of a prepared program for the council or for the Code Enforcement Advisory Council to look at.
Okay.
And then that's when we'll call that meeting after we get done with those two steps. And so I would envision that'll happen the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, because when I was trying to twist arms to get people to volunteer for it, they asked what we did, and rental was part of it, but there's a lot of stuff that people would like to, I hate to use the word complain, but to address in code enforcement. Not that they're not doing a good job, but just.
We call it public
maybe better.
engagement, and we're welcoming the public engagement.
Okay. So rental isn't the whole part of it.
It was kind of the impetus for us to go ahead and get this reinstituted, but there are more uses for this group than just the rental program.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other council? Seeing none. B, downtown Belton Main Street clock presented by Andrea Cunningham, City Clerk.
Downtown Belton Main Street would like to purchase a clock tower for Main Street. It will be electric with battery backup. They plan to install it, to do the maintenance on it, pay for it. They've submitted a design and install specifications to staff, and we're currently reviewing it. So this item will be coming back to council at a later date for approval to erect it on city property and for other necessary approvals.
They still looking at down at the corner of Y and Main, or?
No, I believe that spot was not recommended.
Yeah.
So it is somewhere further up on Main Street.
It's been moving around a little bit, and there was one proposal up here in front of City Hall on the corner, but we're not sure that's going to work yet either, because we're still working through all the stuff on that, and so we don't really have a finalized spot for it yet. And
Your office building roof?
My office building,
Yeah.
we got land.
I'd like to work it out on the back end to make sure that we're not, that we have the right spot, and we're not going to get over the top of some infrastructure that could cause problems similar to the problems that we had when we were doing the Main Street water line repairs.
Right.
Might cause more problems than so we'll see. We'll have more on that in the future.
Any questions from Councilman Richardson?
I know the original reason for getting the clock was to put it at the end of Main Street and Cedar to draw. There's a sign down there right now. Get something that stands out that says come down Main Street. And now it's moved down to Main Street where nobody will see it off Y. And that was part of our concern when we had our meeting the other night, was people were complaining that there's nothing that draws people down Main Street. And the initial thing was we knew the power was going to be an issue, but to do it solar. And supposedly there was a way to run it solar, and now there's not.
Well, I think that one of the other bigger issues down there was right of way, because the highway right there, we got MoDOT right away we're dealing with, and so there's more red tape there than just go ahead and figure out the electricity and then get it set up.
Okay.
So, and I'll be honest, I have a lot of ideas on on ways to draw folks down that street from the highway.
Right.
And so I'd love to engage Main Street on some of those if they're interested.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Item C, 2023 medical insurance renewal presented by Casey Cohen, Finance Director.
Good evening, council. Actually, city staff has received our renewal rates for 2023. That will start in January. It is a 15% increase. City staff was able to negotiate that down from 22%. We are recommending that the city pick up that 15% increase so that the burden isn't on the city employees. And you'll have a resolution next council meeting for your consideration.
How does that affect our budget? You're gonna give us all those good numbers?
I will, yes. I have some tonight, but I can give you more when we meet on the budget.
Because you're talking about us picking up the whole 15% for individuals, which we typically do, but family and everything?
Yes, and here's why. We went ahead and looked at some, so I was told that there was a 3% COLA that was given. Of course, I wasn't here when that was done.
Correct.
So I went through and we looked at some employees, some that have HSA, some that have PPO, and some that have HMO. I looked at an HSA family employee, and if they were to take on that 15%, it would eat up 25% of their COLA. A PPO employee, it would eat up 74% of their COLA. So I think that's pretty significant. And actually, the additional increase that the city would take on is about $53,000 compared to the burden on the employees. So.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have questions? So all renewals are January 1 now?
Yes.
I thought we were July 1.
The July 1 was when it was, I believe, different carrier. I believe NPR, they do theirs on July. And once it went away from NPR, it was calendar year.
See no other questions. We'll move on to item D. Mark Operation Greenlight Agreement presented by Greg Roku, Public Works Director.
So every year we sign a agreement with Operation Greenlight. They maintain all the signal timings of the 7 signals that the city owns. And so this is the annual, actually it's every 2 years. This will be a 2-year agreement for both 23 and 24. It's for $5,600 per year, and they help us maintain the signal timings. And if there's anything happens, they kind of watch them every day to see what's going on. So this will be presented next time to you.
Can you look at the signal at 163rd Street and K and Cornerstone?
So every year at this time of the year, I get the calls about that traffic signal. We go out and there's nothing wrong with the equipment. So what it basically is certain times a day, the sun shines into that lens. And so it cannot pick up anybody coming off of Casey's. And it happens for a short period of time, about twice a year. And so I'm trying to figure out everyone who has cameras like this has the same exact problem. And so we're trying to figure out what solution we should do. Maybe we just put a loop in there just to ban the camera so we don't have that problem with that camera anymore.
Well, the other day it was basically giving left turn signals to cars that were not in the left turn lane. And coming through that, I'm sure Chief Michaels gets to go to the fire station too all the time. I mean, it's just, someone could be coming out of Casey's right there and that signal turns immediately as soon as they come out of Casey's. And it just shuts everything down on 163rd Street. And it just seems like it's very reactive to that Casey's driveway compared to everything else.
I can take a look at it. Next year, one of the points of emphasis for OGL is to look at the 163rd corridor. We had it timed, but due to the number of increased residents, and now that we're going to have the apartment buildings over there, it's going to really change what the demand of those signals are. So after those 2 apartment complexes get open and get pretty well filled, we're actually going to redo all that signal time because everything's going to change. Because where nobody was coming out Turner before, now that's going to be a busy intersection. And so everything's going to change, and we're going to do a lot of work to try to make sure we accommodate those changes.
Now, I might have a crazy idea, especially for that one there at Turner Road with the Encore Apartments. We ever thought about a roundabout?
No.
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 I like roundabouts, man. You don't stop.
Is Mark in charge of the ones that are around I-49?
Those are under control of MoDOT.
Okay.
Now, they work with OGL on those, but they're not through us. They go through MoDOT.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other crazy ideas? Come on now. Seeing none, we'll move on to item F, UDC text amendments, Planning Commission and voting.
Oh, we skipped E.
He's buying something again.
Oh, I skipped E.
Yeah, he wants more trucks.
He wants more trucks. All right. E, Public Works trucks purchases presented by Greg Roku, Public Works Director.
So, another thing that we're buying is pickup trucks. And so pickup trucks have been very hard to buy. If you try to buy one personally, you know that you haven't been able to buy one hardly in the last 2 years. These are heavy-duty trucks. These are not just 150s. These are 250s and 350s. And so we have 4 trucks to buy. One truck is a crew cab 350 with a plow and spreader for Public Works. Another Public Works truck is a F350 dump bed with a plow and spreader. Another one is an F250 for the police department that would replace the animal control truck. So we would just get a cabin chassis and they have to buy the box that goes on the back. And then last one's for the fire department. They're wanting, I believe it's an F250 truck. So the difference in how we used to buy trucks to how we have to buy them this year is that normally in the past we'd go out and bid trucks. We'd call up lots of different Ford dealerships and get different prices from Ford dealers. This year what Ford's doing is they're opening a window when you can order a truck. The window opens on October, I think it's 24th, 26th, somewhere around there, end of October, the window opens. And they're going to give out a pricing sheet. So when we get this pricing sheet, it's the same price at any dealership in America. We're going to go mark the items that we want between us, the fire department, and the police department, mark them and place the orders. And then we'll come back for approval to order the trucks. We're not in a position where we can take the order, take the form, fill it out, present it to council, get council approval, and then make the order. It's basically they're going to open it up. You meet with them, you put your order in, they close the window. It's a matter of about 3 or 4 days. And so we're going to act very quickly when it comes up because this is our first chance to order trucks in 2 years. And so we're going to make the orders, bring it back to the council. If the council says, no, we don't want to do that, then we'll just call out and cancel them. But if we waited to hear yes, we couldn't order them. We'd have to wait till 24 to order trucks. This is the year 23 ordering window.
I am not knowing our budget very well. I'm assuming each one of these departments have it in their budget for 20.
Every one of these is in the budget for this year.
Are we expecting it to be over budget or we're still within?
They're going to be close to being over. We have no idea what they're going to come out on pricing.
Well, the pricing sheet's going to be
Gotcha.
Yeah, and these are because one of the things is that they don't want to make government vehicles because government vehicles always are fleet vehicles at a reduced cost. So like the big trucks, they don't want to, if they got orders for big trucks from truckers, they're not going to stop making a $100,000 truck and sell one to us for $80,000 or a $300,000 truck for $200,000. They don't want to do that. They just keep making the $300,000 trucks and say you have to wait. They've been doing the same way for government vehicles for 250s, F-250s, F-350s, because they can keep selling them for $80,000, $90,000, and people just keep buying them one after another. And so now we're going to get a chance to buy a fleet truck at our rate, and so there's a limited opportunity to buy them. So we're taking the opportunity.
Any comments or questions from council? Seeing none, now we'll move on to item F, UDC text amendments, Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Adjustments, meeting dates, and state statute compliance presented by Matt Wright, Director of Planning and Building.
Yep, we're currently preparing code amendments for the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment sections in the UDC, which would include updating the meeting dates for the Planning Commission and to also ensure that both the Board and Commission have language that complies with state statutes. These amendments are expected to be brought forward at the same time as the home-based business changes that were discussed at the last meeting as a result of some amendments to the state statutes. In addition to these code changes, we're also looking at addressing window signage. As there have been many questions about window signage and there currently isn't any guidance in the code in regards to the size or coverage or permitting requirements for that. So that's another item that we are currently reviewing. Staff is preparing these code amendments for the November 7th Planning Commission, which will come before City Council for first reading on December 13th.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item G, Memorandum of Understanding with North Cast Waste Management Sewer District, presented by Joe Warren.
Yeah, I was approached by chairman of the county commission for the renewal of the discussion. I know there was a discussion previously before I got here, and I don't know how long before I got here, about doing some kind of an MOU, a memorandum of understanding between the North Cass Waste Management Sewer District and, of course, the city. It's just essentially to provide some, allow them to tap into our sewer mains for use for about 30 properties, I believe. 30 homes are in that district. They would cover the cost for doing all that. It would just be the only thing we would have to eat, essentially, is the added wear and tear on our system, and we think that's a very small price to pay for some good relations with the county and doing the right thing. I mean, the environmental impact that's going on down there is not a good thing for our area, even though it's outside city limits. At some point, it could be inside city limits, and so the last thing we want is for that to be an issue. So we will be bringing forth with you. The MOU is in your packet on page 312 for you guys to look at. That'll be on our next agenda.
Councilmember Ryan Johnson came, North Commissioner came and talked to us about the property at 187th and Mullen is what we're talking about here, so.
Yep.
It's been going on over there for 20-some years, and finally they got ARPA funds to help pay for it, if I remember our conversation.
I believe that's what they're
correctly.
planning to do
So-
with it, yeah.
And we're out no money on this, so that's a good thing. Any question, comments from council? Councilmember White?
Wasn't there
Microphone?
No, I don't want to talk about this. Wasn't there talk about concerns about adding more service to our wastewater?
The only, this particular connection is only going to be, it's for under 20 homes, so that's not a concern. The concern came when we're adding larger communities to it.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number H, Personnel Policy Amendments presented by Joe Warren.
Yeah, and Andrea, our city clerk, has got some handouts for you guys to look at. We've got some proposed language on what we ordinance that we're going to bring forth to you all in the very near future, possibly as early as the very next council meeting for first reading. We're about done with the draft of the proposed personnel policy. We discussed previously the idea of potentially taking most of the policy out of code because it's all codified at this point. And so we have, like I said, this is just a draft of the potential bill. Not a lot of meat and potatoes to it because the meat and potatoes would actually be in the policy itself that we would bring forth in addition to this ordinance for you guys to adopt at the same time, so we don't go without a personnel policy for any amount of time. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any at this point. I wish I had a draft for you guys to look at the personnel policy, but I'll make sure you guys get a copy of that in advance so you can give me some feedback before we even get to October 25th.
Any immediate questions without, I mean, I'm sure you just got this, haven't read it and digested, but any other questions immediately that you have for Councilwoman Lawson?
Yeah, just to confirm, this puts us in line with neighboring cities. This is a more standard way to have your
Yes.
personnel policy.
Yeah, it gives us a little bit of flexibility. I mean, when something's codified, it's very rigid. To change anything, we have to bring it back for an ordinance. And so, and yes, I mean, I think I mentioned to you all, I printed off our personnel code that's codified. It's about 32 pages long. And I printed off the personnel code that's codified for 5 neighboring communities, and combined it was 20 pages of for the 5. So we're definitely out of line on industry norms for that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Councilman Powell?
Not on this, but just a question for,
If you need to ask Joe a question, this is time.
Okay. Well, you did pass out a month or so ago the budget timeline, and it said on there, introduce October 11th meeting, which basically you don't have to introduce it. I think we all know about it, but
Right, that was kind of a
October
deadline.
25th is when we should have our wish list and bring them to this meeting?
Yeah, not necessarily bring it to the meeting. I was just hoping you'd have it submitted to us, submitted to staff by October 25th. That was the idea behind setting these ward meetings, is to allow you guys to reach out to the community and have those conversations on what the wish lists are. So as we get into the budget process, you guys have already been able to kind of think about what things you'd like to see in the budget if we can make it work.
Okay.
So yeah, the 11th was just a deadline to make sure we had that communication out, and I know I'd already communicated with everybody that timeline, so I just kind of an internal deadline, but yep.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Good, thanks.
I would entertain a motion to enter an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to legal actions according to Missouri Statute 610.021.1, to discuss matters pertaining to leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate according to Missouri Statute 610.021.2, and to discuss matters pertaining to negotiated contracts according to Missouri Statute 610.021.12, and that the record be closed and the meeting adjourned from there.
Present?
Second.
Let's roll call. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
Pryan,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Clark.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. We'll take a 5-minute recess.